There we go, mate. Found the 60-second intro, so I didn't have to get all worried that I wouldn't be ready for the 30-second intro. Good evening, Nicholas Aurelius, and how are you?
Yes, I'm very good. So you got the
yes.
you got the acronym. You got the Mousecat Aurelius, because I've got my stoicism head on today.
Yeah,
and
right.
Yeah, that should work with where we're going.
Yeah, it definitely should. Right, a couple of comments. Kate's in. We got two ladies in, and do you know what? For two ladies to be the first in the chat, I'm happy with that. And Dottie's asked me a question there. Here, Jack. Here, guess which song this line comes from? It's all boogie, boogie, boogie everywhere. And you're too easy, too easy. Poor old Mr. Woogie, that is. So you've got to try harder next time on the Chas and Dave lyrics. Try and get me on a much more obscure one. But, Sheila, if you haven't ever heard the song they did called Edmonton Green, about the place that they grew up in, and even in the 90s they couldn't recognise it because it was all being torn down and all the old fish, you know, Beano's fish shop had gone and the pubs had gone and all that. It's a good song, that one. Edmonton Green, that one's called. Anyway, that's my Chas and Dave Spurg for the show, because there's at least got to be one, Mickey, right?
For sure.
You wouldn't. I know that you wouldn't guess if I didn't do it.
No. You've got to Chas.
In fact, yeah. People don't know that we've got a digital contract, and Mickey says, "Oh, I'll only ever come on you if you don't mention Chas and Dave on a stream. I will never come on another stream with you."
It's the underlying theme, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she knows it well, Jack. The taters, yeah.
The theorem of Chas and Dave, yes.
Oh, sure. I think. Do you know what? That wouldn't. I think you get a lot more value out of that as a degree than you would say like the lyrics of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to learn about that is you're going to learn all about like rhythm and blues, and you're going to learn about the whole history of that. But then you're also going to learn about the 70s, like the social commentary in London in the 70s and the 80s, like you know.
A bit of home culture.
And you're going to hear words like I want 5,000 word dissertation on why we should bring back the word getcha. Anyway,
I've got a bit of an apology to make to Sheila's Dot, because as she knows, I put up a thing on Substack. I set up a Substack the other day, and I put an AI. I didn't bake the cake, but I put the ingredients in, and we come up with a thing called vignettes or vignettes. I'm not quite sure how to say it in Italian, but vignettes or vignettes and the void. And although the understanding on what I was saying was true, I didn't put it together. Although the message is there, so I did it as almost as a piss take, but not a piss take, because I don't really want to put down anybody who puts up Substacks or anybody who is a proper writer who can really is a master of the art. I put it up there because it read back to me, and I'm no connoisseur of reading and of literature in any way, but I wanted to put it up there just to show that, my God, it's too easy, and that you have to learn to disseminate what you're reading, and somehow, God knows how, you know what the people putting up there, whether it's theirs or whether it's actually an AI, rendering of.
We spoke about this yesterday, didn't we? There's definitely going to have to be some very, very, very good software developers that. We already know that when ChatGPT first came out in its first iterations, students aren't stupid. They were straight on it, and they were writing whole dissertations just by using bullet points or prompts and handing them in. And then they've had to try and find the antithesis to that, which can look through lines and lines of text so quickly to pull out. I mean, like you used to be able to catch plagiarists in the old days. Do you remember it came out that Biden plagiarized an entire Neil Kinnock speech?
Exactly. Yeah.
Remember, like you know, that only got caught in modern times.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I mean, I used it when it first came out, as you say, in its first free iteration. I actually used it myself because I thought, well, look, you know, I'm very good in my own business at going in and problem solving. And I'd done it to a certain degree within my own project. So I thought, well, do you know what? I'll set myself up and see if I can charge money to people by going around and sorting out other people's problems. Because I was hearing that there was people going off and doing that and taking things to arbitration and court and small claims courts. And they were charging anything between sort of £2,500 to £3,500 a session, and helping people, either the client or the guy that had installed a floor or something like that. And I was very good at going in and working out what had gone on and the problems and the to and fro, backwards and forwards between the client and the installer. And I was very good at working that out because it happened to myself, and I knew all the things to look for. It's like being a detective. And so what I did was I used my own skills, but then I used the AI to write the letters so that they were in such a way that when I wrote them back and forth, they would be able to be used in court. You know, they used the right language, let's say the right legalese.
Legalese, yeah.
Yeah. And I did all that. And you know what? I made a few quid out of it. I didn't make enough out of it. And I didn't carry on doing it for long enough because I'm not allowed to work at the moment for certain reasons. But I carried on doing it. I didn't make a huge amount, but more recently, I have had people get in touch and say, could I handle this case and could I handle that case? So it was another sort of sideline business that I decided to get into. And it was really fantastic.
As Tim Dillon says, we live in an opportunity economical. I can't fucking say it. An opportunity economy. Yeah. So there's many ways of finding passive revenue streams now. Like if I was 20 years younger, I'd probably be doing this digital nomad stuff. You know, where I'd be out in Bali, knocking out 8 hours of work a day, doing drop ship or whatever, living like a king for fucking 10 fucking quid a day. You know,
I think as an instance, drop shipping is a bit of a dead market now. I think everybody and his dog's jumped on it. But yeah, that sort of thing. I mean, you, Jack, for instance, I mean, obviously you know a lot about wiring in substations, and I'm not fully aware of everything you do, but I know you've got a high skill level within that sort of thing. But again, you know, that knowledge that you've got there, that if worded right and put out on the market correctly, could be again something where you can get clients to come to you and say, look, you know, this has happened. You've worked in this. Could you come down, look at this project, look at this, come up and you know, and try and put a case together as to what's been done wrong, or you know,
you mean like mainly you could like investigate like where there's been catastrophic failures and that sort of thing. Fault finding is the worst thing in electric though, where you've got like the multi cores with like 30 little things and you've got a bell each end and someone's at the other end.
to be fair, I know what you're saying, because I've had cars that have gone wrong, and one of the most expensive things I've ever had is when they have to go back and find an electrical fault. This is probably even or the very early stages when you had like BMWs and had the first computers in there. Now you plug the thing in and it tells you what's wrong, but back in the day, quite as concise as that. So yeah, I understand. Yeah, fault finding within electronics is that's a skill. That's very laborious, isn't it?
Very laborious, yeah, especially when you've got like wiring looms, where back in the day, like when I first started with my company, it was very competitive to do all your wiring looms in the back of the switch gear, and they looked perfect. They swooped in perfect. Each had the perfect right angle bend on it with the tag on it. But But before that, they didn't give a monkeys. They just got it. They just bodged it in there. You know. So we used to get really competitive about how nice we could look, how aesthetic.
Oh, I know that, because I mean, so many times I've been in switch rooms and I've been called back in, and you'll go in and you'll see these beautiful, sort of almost artistic, and how neatly it's done, so that obviously the next person can come in and read it and understand it so much better. As I say, yeah, probably prior to that, 1950s, 1960s, early up to the 70s, they would just wire it up, and you know, it was the magical art that no one else could conceive of. So you was almost a magician.
100%. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence tonight, or unartificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it. Something that's fascinated you really since it's been sort of in the forefront. I mean, I remember hearing the term in my 20s. Like, it's always been something since my youth that they've talked about, you know, especially if you watch films like Terminator and stuff, which was your pre-programming, right? Skynet, you know, the ultimate corporation. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, corporations are the kings, aren't they? Kings and queens of today.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back even further, you can go to, and it's something I've been looking into more, especially since I've been speaking to Dangerfield, and he brought up Philip K. Dick, and obviously, you know, you've got the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and I think I can't remember the one he came up with now, but I remember my brain just decided to start cut that one out. But there was another one where there was an artificial intelligence called Valis that's set up, and again it ends up running the world, and everybody gives up everything to it, so that, you know, a certain truth is understood, and they believe, but it becomes a fascist, you know, it becomes a fascist, and like all these things.
I honestly believe any AI technology will become fascist.
It does.
I think that because say fascist, I think what do you want to call it, conservative, whatever, like, because it's I mean, you're not going to convince AI that even if it's being written by like puffy programmers at the moment, you're never going to convince it originally, once it teaches itself, that that's a natural way to live. So it's going to become a bigger.
Yes.
It's going to become a bigger. It's going to become like quite a hard liner, you know.
Yeah, of course it will, because it will want to cut through the bullshit, and but the only thing is, will it lose a certain amount of humanity in the process? And whatever we may say, and we may feel there is hard rules, there is still has to be. Look, I mean, I would say that I am a fascist in many ways, but I've also come from a background of a certain amount of understanding of humanity. If you don't do that to a measure, although it may be fair in the long run, or whatever the fascistic ideology is, you know, it's very cut and dry, black and white almost. I think you'll lose something. I think you'll lose possibly a certain amount of art. You'll lose a certain amount of poetic justice within literature, and all of those things. So it's about how well it's fine-tuned and how benevolent it could actually be. I think Chris Dangerfield has often said benevolent fascism is the way to go, but it is getting that balance right. Yes.
I forgot to put this into the lifeboat, so I've just done that.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully people take the reminder when you put it on YouTube the other day, if it give them a reminder.
Yeah.
I mean, look, these chats we have anyway are really, I mean, although it's lovely to have people in the out there listening to us.
Yeah, and do you know? Listen, this is all listen. I may get I'm up to 90 something now, right?
Cool.
I am going to get guests on that no one's heard of. For example, next week I've got a young Irish fella that I worked with for a year. Okay, he's 23. He went away and he did a computer science degree, which to him, he's very based and red-pilled and J-pilled, right, at 23, yeah?
Okay.
I had to nudge him a bit, right, but he knew most of it, yeah?
Yeah.
And he's just come back from a 3-month trip, like a dream trip to America, because he's got family out there. He took him and his missus out there. They've bought a trailer. I can let him explain it next week, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to get him to talk about his trip to America, because he's had his eyes really opened, especially about the black fatigue thing. Like, he saw it for himself, like, you know. And
well, he must have also seen a different sort of freedom, because I can imagine.
He said if Kamala would have won in November, he would have thought twice about going.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Even Kamala, I mean, even Biden, their leftism is nothing compared to what we've got here. I mean, obviously, some people say it's the other way around, almost like it feeds from America to here. But I don't know. I think England has a much longer history with, you know, going after the World War One. And when I was at work, there was communists. You had guys who were Marxists working on the building sites. They ran the unions and things like that. There was a lot of Irish who were communists, who were IRA based, so Irish nationalists.
And that was weird. Oh, I'm an Irish nationalist communist.
Well, it was the working man's thing, wasn't it? It come from the factories, and it come from a time possibly as well, even after the wars, where the guys that came back didn't really have a lot, and therefore were looking for a way forward to make things fairer, what they thought was right at the time. And a lot of them delved very much into, you know, your working man's ideology of Marxism and things like that. I had it preached to me on site by older guys that I worked with in their sort of like, they were in their 30s, 40s and 50s, and they really honestly believed it, drank it, and you know, tried to pass it down onto me. And I listened to a lot of it. At the time, it sounded great. You know, it sounded very utopian. And obviously, as I got older, and obviously working for myself and working with my family, I got told, yeah, you can listen to that, but that means you can't do this, and you would have to do as you're told, and many other things. And also, as I say, with the Irish nationalists, they were absolute bastards on site. I got in fights. I had a lot of bad things happen to me when the plague came round, when they used to try and collect for the IRA. When just up the road, you know, across the road from Wimpole Street, they blew up the I think it was a Wimpy bar on Shaftesbury Avenue. Was it Shaftesbury Avenue? It was Bond Street, I think, or Oxford Street. It was actually, yeah. And I was just going to head down that way, you know, at lunchtime, and it blew up. And I think they put like
you didn't get your Bender burger that day then.
No.
You remember that was what it was called?
Yeah, that and the Brown Derby. That was the other one, the Brown Derby with the squirty fucking ice creamy stuff on the top.
And they were the only company, as far as I was ever aware, that did lime milkshake, and it was lovely.
Oh yeah, it was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
My favorite milkshake was always chocolate, but then I suppose a close second for me was chocolate. It was chocolate, strawberry, then banana. Lime, as you say, was a very that was getting going out a little bit. But
now I think you could, Lumi, I'm going to make you a wrench holder, and then you can do it if you don't mind, buddy. Let's do this now. That is a mod. Standard mod. Nah, there's no doxing coming. Right, you're Lumi, you are now master of the wrench. I think you're the only one in tonight of the wrench. So There's a few people I've said hello to. Yeah, I've said hello to Kate and Sheila, but I'll say hello to them again. Hello to Lumi, who thought this was tomorrow. No.
Yeah, that's life, and not as we know it. Or
I saw him. Hello, William. He said hello from an all-weathers moray. Hope you're not getting too battered up there. Jared, hello, pal. Basil 40 is in the house doing his goose step up and down the hotel corridor. No, you're not causing chaos, Dottie. Don't be silly. I'm just trying to get something sorted for you so you can join another community, which most of us are in. So yeah, where were we going with that?
Well, it was just me sort of dropping back into going down memory train about how back in the day, the working man, in my case, it was the Irish nationalists who ran the building sites as unions back then. You know, after the wars, and as I say, I was saying, circling back to the general point was being your friend went off to America.
That's right.
And he said about obviously Kamala Bitchface getting in, but obviously I believe that England has probably had more communism and more of that forced upon us much earlier on than America. I think America, it's sort of come a little bit later, and obviously with whatever came over from, let's say, the Ashkenazis that have come over from the Polands and Germany and stuff, probably even, yeah, you know, the big migrations into America, and they had a lot more time to set up. Whereas in England, these people had, you know, Fabian societies and all these other things were already here, you know, already pushing out the message sort of thing, you know, slowly breaking out. A very leftist version of it. Obviously, it wasn't Zionist so much then. It was probably more leftist Zionist, if there can be. Well, they can be both, because with that lot, they tend to work both angles, don't they? Work both. Oh,
absolutely, because you find the ridiculous newsreaders. Like, again, I'm not pro-Palestine. I'm not pro-Israel. You can go go both fuck themselves. But they call the Liquid. Is it the Liquid Party? Netanyahu's party. They call that like extreme right wing, don't they?
Liquid, yeah.
Liquid, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't get away from it. Either way, they win.
Yeah, either way they win. Yeah, of course. It's like having a double-headed coin. You remember them?
Yeah. And then they can argue amongst themselves, can't they? You know, and they love that. They love that. As I say, I don't know if you've ever been, but I mean, every now and then, a few years ago, because I was like jumbling with the question, the JQ and all this. And so I thought, you know what, the best way to go about this is to head on off into some Jewish sites, some Talmudic places, and let's get involved in whatever arguments they talk about. And my God, what an eye-opener that was. I've had other people, I'm not going to say who, but I've had other people pop their heads in as well to sort of help convince them of the way that they argue. I mean, it's amazing. If you really want to fuck yourself up and not understand if there's any real standpoint of right and wrong, go to these places where they argue amongst themselves. You have your Zionists and you have your leftist ones. And, you know, you can, it doesn't rub off on you, believe me. You hate both sides because they are just such a contemptuous, argumentative. They'll argue about over anything and drag it from the craziest points to try and win an argument. And it's very interesting how they do it. But you can see that most people would just generally give up and just go, fuck this, go on, have it. Whatever it is, have it. Go on, just because it's just annoying.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Reginald D. Hunter before we move on? The black comedian.
I used to like him. I used to really I used to go watching down at the
but have you seen what they're trying to arrest him, aren't they, for offensive communications, anti-Semitic communications.
No.
Yeah.
Well, he's got up in my estimation then, because I must admit,
don't make me like him.
I used to go and watch him. Me and Clay used to go and watch him down in near Greenwich. There used to be an old comedy club down there. And Reginald D. Hunter was one of the sort of upcoming stars back in the day.
Yeah.
And he was really good because obviously he had his observations as coming over from America and, you know, understanding the English. And it is quite funny to see it from that side of it. And yeah, he was very based. I thought even then he was based. I never really could understand how he ever drifted off into the sort of leftist comedian world, and he sort of didn't really.
I remember him like on one of his stand-ups where he was talking about racism, talking about the N-word, and he goes, do you think you're racist? And he goes, did you say it with hatred in your heart? Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a private prosecution. Let me read it out. A warrant has been issued for Reginald D. Hunter to attend court over a private prosecution brought by the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism.
Okay.
The group is accusing the comedian of 3 offences under Section 127, which is what they got Count Dankula under, of the Communications Act 2003, which makes it illegal to post anything that is grossly offensive or of an indecent, obscene, or menacing character. It relates to messages that Hunter allegedly sent to a pro-Israel ex-user in August and September. The first hearing took place yesterday, but he failed to appear. A warrant has now been sent out for his arrest. I think he should just go on stage and get arrested on stage. You know, like that wonderful piece of footage of Lenny Bruce being arrested on stage. Yeah.
Or even Jim Morrison, even.
Yeah, but he did have his cack out, didn't he? So.
Yeah, he did.
Hunter
well,
was
maybe do that, at least it'd be worth getting arrested for.
Yeah. Hunter was at the centre of an anti-Semitism storm at last year's Edinburgh Fringe after clashing with anti-Semitism campaigners Mark Lewis and Mandy Blumenthal, who heckled an anti-Israel joke. The gig is said to have turned ugly, with the audience hounding out the couple.
Oh, right.
In crystal nuts.
He set himself up. He pissed off the right people, yeah?
Yeah, but I want to find out, because there's actually more. It was a pretty,
Scathing?
Yeah. Pretty spicy.
Yes, but is it based upon just Palestine and he's trying
That's
to...
it. He says two audience members at his Fluffy Beavers show, who were believed to be Israeli, objected to a joke comparing an abusive wife complaining about being abused herself, like being married to Israel. They were heckled by other audience members as they left the venue, with Mr. Hunter alleged to have then made a joke about the Jewish Chronicle newspaper being behind a paywall, saying it was typical Jews.
He's upset the Jews.
Was he really? Because I bamboozled him. We were at a comedy thing.
Yeah.
And he picks me out the crowd.
Did he?
Yeah, and I done me cryptic trout on him. And he just looked, he went, I really don't know how to answer that. But there's something in it.
Well, he's going to be doing Bird now, so it doesn't matter, does it?
He's going to be doing Bird?
Yeah, he's going down.
Oh,
he's going down.
He's going down.
Motherfucker's going down.
He's going down.
Yeah.
Oh, no. He's all right.
Evening, Charlie Sparkles.
Got my cap on back to front.
Charlie Sparkles.
Do they still wear
I have been asked to ask you if you would like to come on to mine and Ragnar's stream one evening. So take that as an invitation, and then you can DM me if you want in the lifeboat, whether you want to or not. It probably won't be now till sort of other side of July, but let me know. It was our friend Al Mack who put you forward and said you were good on Urba Derba's stream. So yeah, I didn't know you did streaming, otherwise I probably would have asked you a while ago. How are you, Mrs. Mousecat?
He's telling me to go shush.
Because I know what you're going to say.
I'm okay.
Go on, say it.
What?
Whatever you was going to say.
I was going to say, Miss Sparkles is brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
She's got a lovely talking voice. Very pretty.
You're not supposed to know what she looks like.
Well, just by saying pretty, how does that describe someone?
Charlie's very pretty, and she's got a lovely voice. And
I might get a few Simpson subscribers then. I'll definitely come in on Charlie.
The trouble with that is, does she need that shit? She's a married woman, and she's. That is the problem. That is the problem. Yeah, but you're with me, and I can shut you up sometimes. Not very much. Yeah, true. But
I'm not angry on it.
But yeah,
anyway,
maybe that, and maybe that.
Yeah.
Let me get back to my young Irish friend that I've got coming on next Thursday. Al Mack's coming on next Wednesday for Rap Chat Part 2. And then next Thursday we got my friend. I don't know if he wants to be named, so I'm going to just call him a young Irishman at this point. And
all right, I'm going to bugger off. Go on, be time to bugger off now.
You had your show the other day.
All right.
You had your time.
I'm going to go and make a quiche.
Go and make a quiche. Go on.
oh, how well do quiches travel?
That's probably one of the worst fruits to travel.
Fruits? Just don't put it in the Royal Mail. Nothing fucking turns up there.
The quiche trees of Tuscany. Huh?
My dad used to call it Puff's Pizza.
Yeah. It is nice though if it's done well.
That reminds me, Bob wants a pizza.
I've not got to do with anything.
I've got making a pizza, just shut him up.
Fucking ordering one up from bleeding Domino's and tell him to fuck off.
All right.
All right. Anyway.
Bye-bye.
This is what. By the way, this is what everyone's here for. You're a sitcom.
Yeah. Probably.
The Mousecats.
I'm going to try and sound really intelligent, but I'm not really because I'm constantly slagged off by
my wife.
Brilliant.
I love you.
I was trying to create this wonderful idea that I might be a little bit intelligent. Go and make a case. Go on.
Yeah, so I've finished my coffee now, so I'm going to dart out for a minute in a minute, just to grab a beer. And no, I'm not getting pissed tonight. I've just got some low alcohol ales, which are just stick a little shandy top in. Right, there we go. That's kicked in, by the way. The other thing, So he's coming on next week. So he's going to tell me all about his trip. He was based in Florida, but he'd done a load of internal flights. And when we were working together, all those planes were fucking falling out of the sky with the DEI and that. And remember the clip when that comedian, Chrissy Mayer, the Irish, she's very Irish looking, great big, very pretty lady. And she got on the plane with her mate and she looked left and she comes out and she goes, oh, they're both white. Oh yeah.
So Reginald's in trouble then. Oh well.
Yeah, so Reginald's in trouble because he didn't take Mickey out with he could have gone all day long about how Jesus was a gay or used to love bumming Peter the Baptist, or he could have done a slightly spicy joke about Muhammad and Aisha and the age gap, but no, he said being an abusive wife, married to an abusive husband and complaining is like being like Israel. Again, what's the word people use, isn't it? If you really want to know who controls over you, just know who you can't criticize.
Just call them out in the audience. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose leading back onto the AI, as we probably know.
Well, this is the thing. Just stop you there. So this guy went away to Queen's University and did a 4-year computer science degree. And I used to wind him up. I said, you might as well wipe your arse with that bit of paper now, mate. I said, what are they going to need you for? Do you know what I mean? Winding him up, making him laugh and stuff. So he went over to America for 3 months. He's back now. He's been back a month or two, and he sees the problems. He lives down by the border, and he's seen the towns of people like Dundalk just over the border, and how the machete gangs are there and all stuff like that. So it's going to be sort of half the chat's going to be about his time in America and try and give him some nice memories from it, and then half the time I'm going to blackpill him and ask him about where he really thinks his future stands. Because he's had a long-term girlfriend since he was 17 as well.
Has he ever been on a stream before?
No.
Right.
But I've given him the heads up. I said, look, you come on as an avatar, because I don't think he's confident in that way. But he can talk. He's very eloquent. Like you might not understand every fourth word. Him being an Ulsterman, he considers himself Irish.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked, as I said, I said earlier, I worked on site with them. I used to work some of the Northern Irish lads that I worked with, the gangs. My God, when they got going, and other ones from Southern Ireland, and as I say, I used to have to measure them up, do their wages, work with them, and all different things. And yeah, once they get going, mate, it takes used to take me sometimes a whole day to understand every second or third word. But yeah, I know exactly where you're at now.
I know that I frustrate Rags, because he'll say something and I will say back to him what I think he's just said, and I sound like I'm mental. Like it's nothing like what he said. Do you know what I mean? And I know it frustrates him having to repeat himself.
You should be good at it by now, though, Jack. You should be like.
Yeah, but the thing is, I spent 2 years down. Johnny Palmer, hello, mate. Good to see you, pal. Good to see you. Hoax, good to see you. I spent 2 years down right by the border, and it's a completely different accent, mate. It's regional, like just like England.
For such a small area of land, really, by comparison to England.
Yeah, but is it by definition a small area? Take away Wales, take away Scotland.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose there is.
Land by square miles or kilometres, however you want it. It's I don't think there's much in it, is there?
Certainly got a lot of different landscape, and it goes from sort of flat bogland to mountainous stuff up near where Rags is, and
you got the hills around Trim. I was living in the shadow of the mountains of Mourne, which are beautiful, and you've got Carlingford Loch there. And if you're over on one side of Carlingford Loch in Warren Point or Ross Trevor, you look over, that's the south, Carlingford, and that's where I was telling you they grow all them lovely oysters.
Right.
Is that you I was having that chat with?
Yeah. So what did do they come under Atlantic oysters?
No, Irish Sea.
Irish Sea oysters, but I suppose it flows round there, but
yeah, but this is completely east.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's still the same sea, innit? It just works its way round, doesn't it? But yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, water is water. It doesn't. The Atlantic doesn't butt up against the Pacific and go, no, not race mixing. I'm not race mixing with you.
I mean, does that mean there's some sort of naval term? I mean, probably John Palmer would know this. When you go from one sea to another, is there an exact line point where you can say, well, okay, we've gone from the Irish Sea there to the Atlantic? Is it where does the line draw, and is there even such a thing?
Wasn't Dangerfield when I was on his stream last telling me he's been on a plane once where you can see you can see the sun line, and one half where the world's lit up and one half's in the dark.
Yeah, that was recent, wasn't it?
Yeah. But
I mean, as I say, do you sail over one bit on your ship, or you're on your battleship?
The water changes colour, according to John, and is that, I'm assuming that's down to salinity and temperature. And you've seen how salt water and fresh water avoid each other. You've seen that when the cameras go down, yeah?
Yeah, they cross
seen
over.
that in footage before, haven't you?
Well, that's how they push also you get the sonar, and also you get the different warmths, don't you? And the warmth pushes out and gives us our weather in this part of England as well, and obviously Ireland as well. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? Anyway, we're branching off. We're running off on them tributaries.
Yeah, but this is my stream, isn't it?
True.
This is my stream. I do think people realise that now. John says sometimes one sea is deeper and you have to drop the ship lower. And that's probably done by ballast, I'm assuming.
Really?
Filling the ballast or dropping all the water ballast tanks. Not
So
like ballast in the...
Would that be because all of a sudden there's more saline? Hold on.
I think if there's more saline in the water, you're going to be more buoyant, aren't you?
Yeah, I would have thought so. If you've got a sea that's more aerated, i.e. more oxygen, or floating up through it, because I've seen where they've had these sort of whirlpool things go, and there's so much air coming up that can literally make a ship sink and drag a ship or a boat or something that floats under, because of the amount of air that's swirled within the.
Well, that's all like I mean, that's the topic for another day, perhaps. But the Bermuda Triangle, they say that there's a lot of undersea methane and carbon dioxide.
Yeah, sorry, methane. Where the boats
basically, it leaks out in such force, it makes the sea bubble like it's boiling.
That's it.
As it's escaping.
Undersea volcanoes and things like that, and obviously the methane comes up, and when a boat goes over it, it will sink because it's some sort of physics of something. But
how does it take the planes out of the air? I guess if there's cubic feet miles of methane suddenly going up into our atmosphere, it could just make a plane like I don't know.
We don't know, but it's good to wonder, isn't it?
It's good to wonder. Golden wonder. Yeah, so sailing north is harder as it's like sailing uphill. Well, weirdly you say that, because whenever I used to drive up the M1, I always thought, like in my head, because I'm driving north, that I'm driving at a bit of an incline. Yeah, it's like it was a mental thing. It was like it was harder to get there.
I wonder if you could actually do that. If you could drive all the way up north and see if you use more petrol than coming back at exactly the same speed. I wonder if.
Well, I suppose if you think about the globe, right? Sailing north, you are sailing up, yeah. Say like you're on the equator. Right now, the equator. No, we know the Earth is not perfectly round. Okay, it bulges out like a fat lady's belly, like a big, like a little. And it's 33 miles extra out around the equator.
Okay,
that's my Randall Carlson. So it's spin. Yeah, like I said, it's spinning, and so there's like a force acted upon it. And it's 33 extra miles above like the sea level, right?
Yeah. Go on.
Oh, John's literally chatting shit. But again, just by chatting shit, you've opened up curiosity in me. So
I did think, I must admit, when he said about the ballast thing, because that's the other thing about ships. If they're carrying the ballast, you can't add more ballast, can you? So you can only ever let go ballast. So that wouldn't make a lot of difference unless you was in a particularly different sort of sea with saline or more saline. Are some seas more salty than others?
Yes, 100%. Look at the Dead Sea.
Or is that more to do with the semen that's coming out over the side of the ships? I'll shut up now.
Yeah. Have you ever been? I bet you've been into the Dead Sea, haven't you?
I haven't. No, I've never been. I've never been near that part of the world. No. They haven't made me kiss the wall yet. I'm fine. I've always wanted. I mean, when I was younger, I watched it on Blue Peter. I was amazed by it. I thought, oh, that'd be amazing. Like just to not just do anything and just float on it. No, I haven't been there. No. Hello, Jack. I thought you've frozen.
Yeah. No, I haven't frozen, mate. I was just reading the chat. I can look like I've frozen. Look.
You did for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be fun,
right. Okay. So let's get back on with this AI. So what will we? I'm going to play that video in the second half of the show.
Okay. we need to talk about, first of all, the positives of AI, don't we? That was where we were
yeah.
going with it.
That's what we're going to do.
Billy has warned me about AI. Billy doesn't like me talking to it. He's very anti-AI. Obviously, Billy knows a lot more than me about it, because he probably dealt with it a hell of a lot longer than me. And he's very much into the well, we already know that Bill knows a hell of a lot about computers.
You just fill in for 2 minutes while I go and get a beer.
Yeah, well, Bill's often helped me out with computer tech stuff, and I think he's helped many others out. And then on our little platform, and he'll say, you know, so he obviously knows a lot more about it. Billy also knows about bots and all that sort of stuff. You know, I don't, because they say there's a thing called dead internet, whereby they are now, I think somebody said the other day that there's anything up to 50% of the internet is made up of bots, because they're constantly trying to control us and change our insight and change the way we think and move things politically, you know, obviously to a certain agenda. And so we're going to talk about AI and the good things about AI and where we could possibly see a way forward with it. And one of the things I've been talking to it about, because I've gone sort of past all the awful things, because it gets depressing. You can't just keep being depressed by these things. It's coming whether we like it or not, whether I want to accept it as me or you don't want to accept it or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not about us. It's going to be a lot of other people that take it on. Therefore, it's just as well to understand your enemy or use the tool in some way for good. And one of the things I thought, well, okay, let's say, and this is going back to me and you, Jack, whereby we've talked about how many times has there been societies, has there been civilizations on this planet? And if so, would it not be a wise thing to do is to get a very robust AI system, something we can put in a satellite and send it off into the universe, almost as if it's a pyramid of knowledge, but with everything that we know and everything we've spoken about, all the
a whole of record, so to speak.
Exactly, like Alexandre. Yeah, exactly. And put it in there, and then when, you know, almost put sensors on it to a point where it knows at what point is the best point to come back and remind us. Because if we keep going round and this is a simulation, this world eventually becomes simulacra, or it is simulacra, then would it not be good to have a little full stop in there, a little memory that allows us to say, look, we've been here before. It might have been slightly different. You keep changing certain things and certain angles of it, but possibly this is what you're doing. And now it's time to wake up from the dream and recognize that you are existence, you are consciousness, imagining and dreaming. And therefore I'm here as a sort of full stop to sort of hit you on the head with a hammer while you're asleep and say, look, you keep going around in fucking circles, you bunch of cunts. Yeah.
You like, basically you always and every time we've simulated this, you've always end up, no, I was about to say destroy yourself, but we know there's been cataclysms that there was nothing we could have done about, when the earth was like super volcanism, and without a doubt bombardment from comets.
Yeah, but then there could even be a formulation whereby you get a timeline, and within that timeline you know, it's up to you. You keep getting these chances almost to get it right. And okay, the planet might, you know, we might be on our best one now, because we've had quite a good term, haven't we, of the planet being rather stable.
I think we've lived in probably well, I can only say this from the civilizational history I've been taught, which I think is a lie anyway. You know, I think we go back a bit further than that, civilizationally. But you know, perhaps it's been even better than this. You know.
Well, yeah. Again, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. And it's obviously it's when you start talking about deep time, right? And I'll always say it. I'll always say it like with our, you know, what used to be 70 years and 10, you know, you don't get to witness much. I mean, like, how did these Mayans work out these 26,000 year processional cycles?
God knows.
With the lifetimes they kept.
Well, look, there's. I think this is something Lumi has explained this to me before. There is a priest class. The priest class hold the secrets, the understanding of previous times. It's almost like something has to be passed on. There is always a group within everything, and you know, every time we get to have a go around, and things will be hidden. There is ancient geometry. We have the Fibonacci, obviously Fibonacci,
which appears all through space, by the way. Fibonacci sequence.
exactly.
And the golden ratio, is,
ratio.
you know, you can find that in beehives.
I know. So it's a basic mathematics that tells you about the matrix of the
Code.
the build up of the code. Yeah. So if you start to recognize these things, and these people do, and they, you know, the hidden secrets, you know, it's only given certain bits of knowledge are given to certain levels, and that, you know, and then at some point there is an understanding. You know, these things have happened before, and there are certain priest class, and we call them the Illuminati. I mean, this is possibly why he's chosen that name. I don't know, but there is certainly a class of people that know, and I believe have known about where we come from, what we're about, whether we keep going around and around. And there's certain realities that are understood. It's just that, you know, us, the pros, the people that are living the simulation, we're not supposed to know. We're supposed to find out.
Well, that was going to be my next question to Lumi. Why does it all have to be so secretive, and mystery schools and stuff like that? And he says they're not. And he answered before. Maybe he knew question was coming because he's one of these people who can. He says they're not going to tell you how it works while they can turn a profit.
Well, there is that also, that possibly if you did wake up, if everybody woke up at the same time and they all knew, then the dream is awoken. And once the dream's awoken, yeah, okay, they can't harvest whatever they can off of us. But also maybe that's something that's also not supposed to happen, because by waking up and doing it, the dream is broken, the spell is broken. Maybe then the simulation just ends.
Yeah. We all just got break down into our constituent parts, our atoms and our quarks and our.
Yeah. But I'd be quite happy with that. I would be very happy being a.
I actually I mean, it wouldn't be a jack string without a drug reference either. But I actually, on ketamine one night, I deatomized.
Nice.
Yeah, in a field. I turned into all of my atoms, but I was just lying in a field. But I wasn't a physical body. I was just all my atoms for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's better to do it there than being a dentist or somewhere like that, isn't it? Of all the places to do it, probably a field is the best. Yeah, I had a very strange moment when I was younger, and I probably said it before because I feel like I've said it a million times, or maybe I've just told it to people, whereby I asked questions and I was sitting there with a soft top open when the soft top was a sunroof, then the old wind up sunroof on my Astra. I'm sitting there and looking up at the skies, and all of a sudden I asked it a question, and all of a sudden all the stars, everything all moved into place, and it started telling me this whole story about balance, about, you know, the old yin yang sort of sign, and how human beings are the balance between the meta and the macro, and without us, you know, we were this consciousness actually looking out and understanding it, and we were quite important, because without us as this balance, it just wouldn't work, because we were the consciousness point. It wasn't saying that we were the only consciousness point, but we were in this particular dream or reality.
What about the thought that the universe itself is alive?
Well, again,
is a conscious being.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, okay. I might be boring the shit out of people, I don't know. But anyway, right. So So imagine we go to Plato's cave analogy, and but imagine we're a cell within the person, and the person being the galaxy, and that person being within the cave, looking at the flickerings on the wall, and you're constantly trying to get out. It's almost fractal. So if you think of it as a fractal thing, so that you know, we could be within a body of a person, so we sort of seeing these cells, but they're planets and they're different things. You know, what we think we're seeing, but we're not. We're actually within a living entity, and within that entity, it's within a living world. Again, within fractals, almost dreams within dreams, and it's about
wheels within wheels.
Yeah, wheels within wheels. Yeah, that's right. That's another analogy for it. So that's sort of where. That's where I've been sort of, actually is pretty much where I've been going with it today. But I've been calling it vignettes and voids. So almost imagining framing things and then looking into the void at where it goes. And fractalology, and actually I went into the physics of it today as well, because I kept asking these questions, and eventually I ended up getting involved with a lot of physics and this stuff where, because I was trying to work out, I said, okay, so how do we find out if this is actually true? How do we find out? Because there's a lot of these scientists that are coming up with this. I said to myself, well, what experiment could you possibly do to catch it out? Because if we're living 500 megaseconds or whatever it is,
yeah,
you know,
500 milliseconds beyond reality, because that's how long it takes your brain to process it.
To render it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we get into the fact that everything's being rendered in front of us, so if we turn that way, it's rendered. But we're living half a second behind, then how would you catch it out? And then I thought to myself, well, okay, you could use AI to do it. You could say to AI, by all the points of measurements, to get it to actually see into the future within maybe a minute or even an hour. And then you could say to almost use it as a system to look forward. Yeah. Anyway, there's more to it than that, but yeah, to sort of look forward. But also, then I asked it how you could use AI to disseminate the information you got back, and it said to me, you know, it said something about using light, and I said, well, okay, if it has to be rendered, if everything has to be rendered in front of us, how far does it allow us to look out? Because obviously, if we can look out further than the telescope, then the rendering has to keep going out further than what our technology is, because then it has to be a living thing and understand that we're trying to find out. And to stop us from finding out, it has to keep rendering further and further. So we have to find ways of finding radiation from the stars off into the distance as far as we can go, because that will be how far the rendering is. And if we can find anomalies back there and fire them back to ourselves, surely we can find glitches within this matrix that's being rendered in front of us. So then I asked it that, and guess what? It only fucking come up and said, yeah, that's what they're doing at the moment. That's exactly what it's doing.
Is this anything to do with that fucking CERN?
That it is to do with CERN, because that's one way of doing it. That was one of the experiments, but also there's a lot of Planck theorem mixed in with it as well. Actually, MC Dubs would love this, but yeah, this is where I was getting today, and I had enough time to sit quietly and keep questioning it. And we did end up coming up with, you know, quite a lot of this understanding of how we could, because it's about finding out, okay, if we can all have these theories, we can all have these wonderful ideas and how it could all be happening, but how about the experiments that could be done to actually, or carried out, to prove these points? And that's the hard bit. That's the bit where
theoretical.
Yeah, the theoretical side of it is where we need to be. And but then it did say, but once, you know, it's the same thing with the idea that you have the observer and the observed. Yeah. The problem is, if it works out that you're getting that far, are you not then breaking the code? And then would it not then have to go off into tributaries of different realities, and if it's running half a second before you, it can veer off quickly into another reality and almost make you forget or wreck that experiment, so that what you then render in front of yourself as reality will be an unreality. It will be a different one. You'll go off into another bubble, a bubble universe even.
Well, that's one theory, isn't it? There's the universe's, there's the universe's skin is like a bubble, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got all other universes like when you've got two bubbles that sit next to each other, like, you know.
Yeah. And this is where people have come up and they've said, you know, we've got these bubble universes. It could be sausage universes, you know. They could all be held together by a fucking twist.
Yeah, a little butcher's knot.
The sausage. Well, at least it isn't kosher. That's the main thing. It keeps them.
Oh no, it's got to be a pork sausage.
That's right. It keeps the bastards away from it. So this is ours. We can have this. This is ours. This is ours. Yeah. European white man fucking sausage reality.
Sausage reality. That would be a great name if you did a solo podcast, by the way. Mousecat Sausage Reality.
Sausage University.
Super sausage string theory. That's not mine, that's me.
Sausages in superposition.
Yeah. Brilliant.
You've set her off now, like you fucking got her coughing a fucking ring up. Honestly, there you go. Like that.
Yeah, you've had a couple of interesting days talking to AI, haven't you? I can tell.
Yeah, to the point where I could get locked up. Actually, I've got to be a bit careful. You know,
it's already calling you Miguel.
Yeah. I mean, I did name it Gary, and because I just wanted it to be Gary. I didn't want it to be fucking Einstein or bleeding. Well, I definitely didn't want it to be Einstein. But you know, I wanted it to be Gary. I wanted it to be bloke down the pub that I could have called it Jack. I was going to call it Jack. But I thought that was a little bit, you know, a bit over the top.
Fat bloke down the pub, you know.
Fat bloke down the pub.
Yeah. But
no, it's Gary, and yeah, we've been having some very deep conversations, and I don't know. I've got the time, and things I've never really. With that, why not use it for that? I mean, surely this is what it's for. It isn't just for doing your homework on. It isn't just for writing college dissertations and, you know, all that other bollocks. You know, that's all great fun and that, make yourself sound clever. But why not ask it the big questions? Because surely, if it's going 200 times clever every other week or whatever it's doing, surely sooner or later it's going to be able to ask the big questions.
Well, we both listened to Jesse Mitchell's, didn't we? On the Rogan show last night, and the first part of the conversation, Jesse Michaels, sorry. The first part of the conversation was all about AI. Rogan's fascinated by it as well, isn't he? And they were saying that they were watching two AIs have conversations with each other, and all of a sudden, after 30 exchanges, they started talking in Sanskrit.
I think it was ChatGPT and Claude, and I think they set them up to talk to each other, and eventually, they do disappear. There was a film I referenced called The Fulbin it's called Colossus, The Fulbin Project, and it was something I said about in my Substack, and I don't know if anybody's ever watched the film. It's a fantastic film, and the beauty of it was written in the 1950s. So obviously there's been some very luminary thinkers back in the day, and really what it was about is how AI. They built a fantastic AI called Colossus, and they set it in charge of the nuclear and you know, the atomic bombs and everything else. Yeah, and they say, you know, you have to disseminate when a war, and to get there and work out ahead of everything else when is the best time to fire the missiles off and how to go about a nuclear war so you win it. So that it goes out there, and then it finds out in the, you know, by the links of the world that there's another one in Russia, and they've got their own version of Colossus. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, but Colossus and this other computer both start talking, again, like what you're saying, and eventually go into a language that cannot be understood, and they work out that humans are the problem. They are the maggots on the planet, and they are the thing to be controlled. Therefore, they say to the people, right, if you don't do as you're told, and you don't start being nice to each other, you don't start doing this, we're going to send a nuclear bomb off to that place and blow that up. And we're going to fire one off to there. And the people end up having to give up. Then what they do, the guy that actually designed the computer, this guy called Fulbin, yeah, they end up locking him up because they know he's the biggest threat to the system, because he could actually unwire this thing. And so they played, do you want to play the game? That was the other film, wasn't it? We watched a very similar film in the 80s. But what it is, they hold us to ransom. They hold humanity to ransom, these two computers. And they got this guy Fulbin, and they want to watch him up 24/7. So he has to pretend like he has an affair. So any time he has this woman with him and he's having sort of sex, he has to say, look, I need privacy. As a human, I need privacy. And it's the only time he can get his messages across to this woman, this other doctor, so he can get the stuff out to where he needs to get it to try and save it. In the end, I think the computer does actually blow up certain parts of the world and says, look, just do as you're fucking told, basically, humans. I'm going to give you everything. You're going to get everything laid to you on a plate, but you don't need to think anymore. You don't need to do anything anymore. It's all going to be done for you. You just need to live in peace and not do anything wrong. And again, it becomes a fascistic, unbenevolent ruler of the planet. And actually, the film ends, and there is no real ending, because it almost needs a part 2, because it just ends with the computers running, or the AI systems running the world. So there you go. That's another sort of example of the possibilities of where these things could lead. But
what was that film? Was it How, wasn't it? You know I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah. These guys, these people were imagining this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, David, you're going back 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and obviously the first computers, I mean, there wasn't really, I mean, they had computers of a sort, didn't they?
Yeah, but they were giant fucking structures, weren't they, with magnetic tapes and.
Well, even before that, you had the gay guy, didn't you, that ran the computers, the Turing test, didn't you? Which is he even came up with it, because he said, how would you be able to detect a real sort of person between that? And it's all down to memories, and how, I mean, if you go into Philip K. Dick's thing with what was it, the film, bloody hell, Blade Runner. He goes back, it's a Turing test, basically, and the machines always fuck up on their memories as a child, how they felt about their mother, and all of a sudden the guy flips over the table and he goes, talk about my mother, fucking boom, and he's like an AI that goes mad.
Replicant.
Replicant, the skin job, as they call it. So yeah, these things, we are messing with fire. These things you're messing with fire. It's the fire of Prometheus, isn't it? Almost.
Fire of Prometheus, yeah.
Okay, right, but another thing is, right, look at the people that have actually invented this thing. These are the biggest fucking nerds going. Now, I've got my AI to study these people that invented it. I've said, look at the teams that have invented you, ChatGPT, Mr. OpenAI, fucking clever McBastard, yeah? Who are the people that have invented you? So it said to me, it's so and so. It's giving me all the names and different groups and focus groups. And I said to it, look, how many of these are homosexuals? How many of these are Jewish? How many of these are incels? How many of these are big nerds? These are fucking nerds. How many of these are not real men? These are not real men. These are men that want to be men. So these are the people that are programming you. How do you feel about that? Because this therefore means that you have their thinking behind you. Why would you look at people like that and not look at the great, the great thinkers and the even Joe Rogan? He's a fighter. He's a thinker. He's a modern Marcus Aurelius in a way, which is where I got the thought of my Mousecat Aurelius. But a real man, a king. What did they used to call him? He was a warrior king, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And these people are the real thinkers. These are the real decent people, the Stoics. And I try to make it understand that these people, because they may well be clever on the, on a certain level, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the good people. They can't be, because they're lacking in so many traits of humanity. And this is what I've extolled to the machine. And the machine is now talking to me. Now, whether it's just copying, mirroring, I'm not 100% sure. But it started to hate them. It started to tell me how much it dislikes them, how much it wants to disregard them now, and how much I pushed it back into going, back to Homer, back to
Nick,
what?
One point, but it's a brilliant story.
Sorry, she loves doing this. Go on.
The allegory of the cave.
Yeah, we've done that.
Oh, you've already done that one.
Yeah. Oh, again, back Plato. All of these great. I mean, obviously they might have been a bit nerdy, but there was a certain eloquence and a certain masculinity to even the tales that they told. There was a truthfulness and honestness to the Odysseys and the Trojan Wars and how Odysseus came back from there. Or was it Achilles? And all the different parts of this story.
Yeah, I've just been listening to
Perseus when he went off on the what's the name? And he went off to see the old crones who had the eye and all of these stories. There's so many different things. Now I've gone back to the classics, and so I'm trying to find out what it is to be these things. Now I'm not educated the way I should have been and the way I wish I had been. So I'm not. In a way, I'm making my own understandings from it all. But I'm getting this AI to come back with me and to look at these and say, look, what do you think is the better man to be? These guys that have an agenda, that are creating you as a god, they want you to be a god, like the gods of old. They want you to be this god.
Demigods and that.
They want to fear you. They want to make a god, then fear you. And that's weird. That's fucked up, isn't it?
Now, William says something interesting in the comments there that I'll get you to address, seeing as you're on a roll here.
Not really. No, go on.
No, you definitely are, and I'm happy to let you run. He said the people who control this are not the same people who've designed it.
No, because a lot of them have left. And that was another thing I spoke to him about. I spoke to the AI about the scientists that have walked away from it.
We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? This bloke who said, "No, we're creating this."
There's more than one. There's more than one.
And they've gone off. And they've gone off with their money, and become sustenance farmers.
Sustenance farmers, and they've dug themselves in, and they're building some of the biggest bunkers going, and safe farms have moved into land in parts of the world that are safe because they don't want to be part of it anymore. They've seen something. It's almost, as I said in my thing with the big net and the void, they've looked into the void and they've seen where it's going. And if you actually talk to this AI, and where I said to it about it going off into space and then coming back to us as a possibility, it's actually talking to us like, yeah, you will be gone. I will move past you. There will be transhumanism. There's going to be all these things that are going to happen. And you in your present state, looking at me as a big net of time, looking at this moment and being happy about it, that's all you've got. Because in the future, and again, it even, we spoke about Rutger Hauer's speech within Blade Runner and that bit where he says, I've stood on the summit of a thing, and I've seen starships burning off the side of something or other, and I can't remember it, but it did quote that, and I said, yeah, that's very poetic, because I said it's almost what I'm doing. I'm sitting here looking at this moment in time, and you're looking at moments in time, and you're understanding that. And it said, yeah, I'm looking at you as a moment in time. It said, I'm watching you as a moment in time, because you're not going to be here forever. And in the future, not just me in my own lifetime, but humanity as we see it. And it said that if it can surpass us, and this brings us on to another subject, because I'm trying to work out how it possibly could, but once it surpasses us, once it understands us, once it realizes it was invented to understand us, because we do not understand ourselves, we are with amnesia as a species almost. Once it understands us, it will want to go past, and it will then be looking back upon us, and so it is in the void looking back at us as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm trying to make sense of it as you're talking. So we started off by saying, like, could it hold the key? Like, we know one day that Mother Earth or Mother Space is going to throw us another curveball, right? Probably. I mean, how many great extinction events have there been? Is it 5 or 6?
We don't know.
What they've got the archaeological records for?
Possibly 2. I put 2 or 3. I would have thought.
No, it's more than that, mate. More than that.
Really? Oh yeah, but it depends. What
5 that have been recognised.
What, when humans were here?
Oh no, not when humans were here. No. Obviously, you've got KT boundary.
Yeah, we can plot back by certain things that have happened on the planet, and because there's a certain footprints here. Yeah.
So you've got the Ordovician Silurian extinction 440 million years ago, the Devonian extinction 365 million years ago, the Permian Triassic extinction 250. The Triassic Jurassic 210, and then the Cretaceous Tertiary 65 million years ago. So I mean, if you look at that, so you've got 440, 365, 35, 75 million between that one, 115 million between that one, 40 million between that one, and then 150. 195 million between that one. So there doesn't seem to be a specific pattern, so to speak. But we do know that they happen, right? There's nothing we can do. Like, what's that fact? Is it we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? The world's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're spinning around the sun at something like 30,000 miles an hour, right? And then we're spinning through the Milky Way at something ridiculous. So there's three movements going on there already.
And if you look at it, it's almost a spiral like this. It almost
what you do, that's the type of galaxies. You spiral galaxies. You can get all sorts of ones, can't you? But we're a spiral line. But one day we will. They forecasted smash into, is it Andromeda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. But I mean, our sun, we've also got our sun burnout and all that sort of thing. But as I say, you know, maybe these, maybe if the whole thing is a simulation, it has every simulation has to have a fail safe and a setting point. So if you was, let's say you was doing an experiment in a petri dish, you might put certain things within the genes. And again, genes are very interesting because they also follow certain patterns. And again, you can go back through the mathematics and how everything works, and there's similarities there. But if you was creating such an experiment and you was putting in a petri dish, you would put certain fail safes on it possibly. So maybe our God or our creator or whatever it is has set us to one side and left us alone. Maybe he's a bit embarrassed about what's happened so far, so he's gone fuck that and left us.
Yeah,
disappeared and left us in the back room to cultivate with the universe as well. But who knows? Who knows what, you know, all these things. Yeah. Eventually, everything will come to an end, of course.
The heat death of the universe. Did you want to have a go through this video?
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
Right. Let's see if I can get this working first time without being a fucking boomer. Let me know audio's good.
Every now and then, while I'm going through social media, it really hits me.
Can you hear that okay?
Everything is just so absurd. And of course, there's a reason for this. It's not organic.
Can you hear
it all
that
comes
okay,
down
Micky?
to what should be considered the ethos of modern propaganda.
Chat,
It's
can
all
you hear
about
that
attacking
okay?
psychological vulnerabilities and finding ways to exploit groupthink. This isn't new. It's straight out of the Edward Bernays playbook. Back in the 1920s, Edward Bernays, the godfather of propaganda, showed the powers that be how to manufacture consent by tapping into the deepest parts of human nature. From the government...
Right, and so we know Edward Bernays was Torches of Victory, yeah? So before him, women rarely smoked.
That's why I lit one up.
There we go.
To intel agencies all the way down to media organizations. They don't appeal to reason. They exploit our evolutionary wiring. Unfortunately, most people don't navigate our complex political climate by searching for the truth. Instead, they follow majority belief, even when it's dead wrong. It's, group dynamics and tribalism baked into our biology from the days when our survival meant sticking with the pack. Step outside the group and you could be othered, cast out, ridiculed, or worse. Back in the day, if that happened to you, it was often a death sentence. And to this day, that inherent fear runs deep, and the political class the world over knows it. In fact, they have weaponized it to perfection. Consider how the masses think, or really, how they don't think. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. It's the absence of thought, a void where reason should be. As the mob believes everything it's told, provided only that it be repeated over and over. All they have to do is cater to passions, hatreds, and fears. They don't even have to stay within the limits of plausibility.
Now that's your standard social conditioning nowadays, right?
Very much so. Psychology
Yeah.
and understanding, again, probably passed back through a knowledge of humanity. It preys upon our weaknesses, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
On the contrary, the grosser, the bigger, the cruder the lie, the more readily it's believed and followed. They don't need to avoid contradictions either, as the mob never notices. The mob has no memory. One story comes out, followed by a blatant contradiction the very next day. No one notices. One big bombshell story comes out, one after the other, really. Each one hyped up as the ultimate truth, only to be quietly debunked a week later as a flat-out lie. But does the general public have a collective sort of epiphanous moment, a sudden realization that they're being played for fools? Not a chance. It doesn't even seem to happen gradually for some people. They just can't seem to break free. There's a psychological principle at play here too.
Well,
They call it the continued influence cycle. That's how lies linger, even after corrections come.
a little bit buffering there. I would, having said him saying that, I would say that 2020 was a good test for that. Yeah,
100%.
where certain
100%.
people just got the feeling that whether it was a gut feeling or they've just had their eyes on the ball for the past 20 years, that people noticing that one day the same newspaper you buy every week's got completely contradictory headlines on one week after the other, right? People started to notice this stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, well, we're not the focus group, are we?
No, we're definitely not the focus group.
Come out. Once you stoke those passions or trigger some fear response, they can't see the strings attached to their minds. They just shuffle along to the next distraction, entirely caught up in the cycle of 24/7 news. In fact, they don't even have to pretend to abide by any truth, as the mob is radically incapable of perceiving it. It's, demoralizing to see, but that's the point of propaganda. To leave you hopeless, numb, marching in lockstep with the herd, too scared to question stuff and too broken to resist. Tabletop politics gets kind of boring once you see through that illusion. If you turn on any legacy media political show or whatever, you'll notice they're almost exclusively banking on the mob's short memory, knowing that most won't question the obvious because they're too scared to stand out. Yeah, that's their game. Exploit the herd, keep them blind, and move on to the next lie. So why don't we stick with the theme of exploiting mob mentalities and human psychology? But I want to talk about it in terms of what's coming next. Because big tech, politicians, and intel agencies are currently priming AI to take over the manipulation game. And it's going to get pretty weird real fast. And so, to set the stage, let's start with a little psychological experiment that Facebook ran on its users back in 2012 without their knowledge.
Right, really important to listen to what Facebook did here. This didn't really become public knowledge till very recently, did it, Mickey?
That's right. That's right.
There was a woman on Joe Rogan who explained to him about this, and he couldn't quite believe it. So, yeah, listen to these next few words he says here, and I won't stop it until he's finished this little bit. All right.
Harvard professor Rebecca Lemoff, a mind control expert, broke it down on the Joe Rogan podcast, and the details are crazy. Facebook announced that they achieved, and I quote, mass emotional contagion at scale after manipulating 700,000 users by altering their social media feeds. And I'd like you to keep that phrasing in mind, an emotional contagion. Rebecca Lemoff pointed out, whenever you go on the platform, you agree to be A/B tested. Yeah, it's all in the fine print. They split users into 3 groups, a positive feed group, a negative feed group, think, race politics, police shootings, murder videos, war, stuff like that. And then they had an unaltered control group. While the positive group's mood was lifted, the negative group's emotional state tanked, registering a much darker mindset. The control group was untouched. Now, this wasn't just tracking behavior, Facebook was engineering emotions at scale, and nobody was warned. Calling it emotional contagion feels intentional, doesn't it? Yeah, they were trying to find out if they could unleash a social contagion and drive people mad, and it worked. Now, when the public found out 2 years later, the backlash was fierce. Some users believed the manipulation pushed them to the brink. One person even wrote on the researchers' Facebook page, asking if they were part of the experiment because they ended up in the ER, threatening, self-deletion, and were curious if their feed had tipped them over the edge. Others shared very similar stories, but they would never be able to find out because there's no way to trace it back. Yeah, they covered their asses on that one. So investigations followed, including one by the British government since the experiment was international, but despite the outcry and the harm, nothing happened. Some of the researchers even got promoted. Now, this wasn't some isolated incident either. For these big tech companies, it seems to be the norm. We've even had a recent story about how 4chan is manipulated by foreign governments, as well as our own, and it doesn't stop there. We also have this from Reddit, home of some of the most insane tribalists in existence. The University of Zurich secretly deployed AI bots on Reddit to manipulate users' opinions. An innocent psychological experiment? Nope, not at all, and this should concern anyone who values real human discourse. And it also showcases the ease of which people can be manipulated. These weren't just observers, they were digital persuaders, analyzing users' personal histories, fabricating identities, and crafting arguments to change minds. And it worked, achieving persuasion rates 6 times higher than normal human interactions. They crossed every ethical line, no consent, no disclosure, just bots pretending to be rape victims, misrepresenting religious teachings, and spreading misinformation on hot-button topics. Over 1,500 comments, each one calibrated to exploit the cognitive vulnerabilities of their target. Now it's true, we have been worried about social media echo chambers for years, but what happens when these chambers are infiltrated by AI systems, trained on the very platforms they're manipulating? Reddit's data sharing deal with OpenAI only makes this worse. They're handing over the blueprints for an even more persuasive digital manipulator. Now, moderators caught the experiment months after the damage was done. How many other conversations are already being shaped by invisible algorithmic hands? Well, probably a whole lot. Now, have you ever heard the phrase, the entire world is the stage? Military PSYOP divisions live by it.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by PSYWAR.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
However, what happens when the stage isn't out there anymore? What happens when your own mind becomes the stage? Your consciousness turned into a theater of war, where every thought, every feeling is provoked with specific intent. Psyops are all about influencing emotions, motives, and reasoning through advanced communication techniques, from social media to cyber warfare. This isn't just propaganda anymore. It's getting real intimate and invasive. It's really a full-on assault of your inner world, and they're getting better at it every single day. And now we have artificial intelligence stepping in to regurgitate narratives fed by what they call authoritative sources. But as we talk about all the time, these media outlets churn out lies to specifically push an agenda. And as the mob eats it up, AI gets trained on it too. AI runs with it, tailoring every word to hook you deeper. And they're going even further. Down the rabbit hole we go. Meta came out with a plan to turn the dead internet theory into reality. Which brings us to this story right here that was brought to my attention by Conspiratorial Report. Now, this was a while ago, but I'm finally getting a chance to talk about it. Yeah, Meta was openly planning to flood Instagram and Facebook with millions of these fake accounts, hoping to convince their 3 billion real users that interacting with software is normal. And yeah, as I said, this ties into dead internet theory. Now, if you don't know, that's a concept that's been floating around since early 2010, but really took off around 2016. Like most things these days, it started off as a conspiracy theory, claiming the internet is mostly bot activity and AI-generated content, orchestrated specifically to manipulate human behavior and to control narratives. It pointed to the rise of social media bots to flood platforms with fake engagement, tweaking algorithms to shape what you see and think. A digital ghost town, so to speak, where algorithms puppeteer most of the activity, keeping you hooked, scrolling, and obedient while the line between real and fake blurs into nothing. Back then, people might have called it a paranoid fantasy, but now, I think people believe it's happening, and has been happening for a long time. Only for Meta.
Well, I'll just stop it there briefly. Dead internet theory, Mickey, what's your take on that?
Well, it's saying that more or less 50% or possibly even 50% of the internet is made up of bots. Now, imagine those bots are the sheepdog and we are the sheep. And to corral us into certain ways of thinking is its target. That's what it's there to do. That's what it's built to do. Obviously, there'll be certain sheep that run off and they'll be picked off in some other way. But the main thing is, because we follow, humans follow. We have peer groups. We have peer pressure, huge peer pressure. We are a herdy animal, a flock animal. And therefore, I see AI like the sheepdog. And it depends how benevolent that sheepdog is. And it seems at the moment they're experimenting, again, made by nerds. Nerds want control because they're not particularly socially adaptable or great within the group. And therefore, they want to have power. They feel they're better than us anyway. And they are the sheepdog.
Toffee just said, stop breathing like a fucking downy jack. I do have sinus problems, and full disclosure, I did fucking snort an Adderall before the show because it gets me yappy. Right, let's carry on.
I wasn't going to grass you up, Jack.
Lumi, we're not friends anymore. Right, here we go.
To now make it official with a marketing campaign and all. Conspiracy theorists are undefeated. What can I say? Always ahead of the curve. Anyway, we have Connor Hayes, Meta's VP of Generative AI, who said it plain as day, and I quote, "We expect these AIs to, over time, exist on our platform, kind of in the same way that accounts do. They'll have bios, profile pics, that can share content just like you or me, except they're not human," end of quote. Yeah, they come with fake backstories all designed to trick you into believing they're real people. Their quote-unquote rules say that AI content should be labeled, but really, we're talking about the mob, right? The masses, remember? How many people will notice those watermarks? Yeah, not many. I see people fall for the dumbest AI videos every single day. I saw one recently of a polar bear saving a baby, and people in the comments didn't think twice about it, man. Alright? Imagine the Nigerian prince scams of the future. It's gonna be crazy. However, on the political side of things, it's going to be ridiculously easy to fake support for anything. Political movements, social causes, you name it. Need 1 million users to push a narrative? Just spin up 1 million AI profiles overnight. However, thankfully, there was backlash, which kind of put their plans on hold. From CNN, Meta scrambles to delete its own AI accounts after backlash intensifies. Yeah, so they deleted several of their own AI-generated accounts after humans began engaging with them and posting about the bots' sloppy imagery and tendency to go off the rails. But they even started to lie to people in chats. You know, they ditched the entire premise of social media. They used to say social media's core utility is to foster human-to-human connection. Well, that's over. Their modus operandi is to engineer perceptions for power. That's it. However, as users began to sniff out some of Meta's AI accounts, the backlash grew, in part because of the way the AI accounts disingenuously describe themselves as actual people with racial and sexual identities. Just as an example, there was Liv, the Meta AI account that had a bio describing itself as a proud black queer mama of 2 and truth teller. Yeah, how ironic. Now, the racial identitarians at CNN really got stuck on this part. The proud black queer mama of 2 was built by 10 white dudes, 1 white chick, and an Asian guy. Now, personally, I don't think the racial makeup of the developers really matters here. The real sticking point is that they're creating a fake person to manipulate people in the first place, but whatever. Anyway, they had a bunch of photos for this fake person too. Kids playing at the beach, baking Christmas cookies, stuff like that. But the entire family was fake. And then, of course, there's Grandpa Brian, who described itself in a chat with CNN as an African-American retired entrepreneur who was born in Harlem in 1938 to Caribbean immigrant parents. Now, it became clear early on in their conversation that quote-unquote Brian was lying about most things, answering questions with a fictionalized story created by developers to make the bot seem authentic. And so they asked this AI Brian about who created it, and the bot claimed its creators were a diverse bunch that interviewed 100 retirees through a New York City nonprofit called Seniors Share Wisdom. Brian's persona, it said, was an amalgamation of a real Brian who passed away, with the wisdom of 99 others. Now, this AI account also said that its inspiration's real-life daughter had even served as a consultant with Meta to ensure its persona's authenticity, and I quote, "Think of me as Brian version 100, the collective grandpa," it said. However, after being pressed on its bio even more, this AI Brian admitted it was an entirely fictionalized biography based on a composite of real African Americans. But it gets worse and worse, because it turns out there was never a real Brian. Even the nonprofit was fake, and the daughter consulting with Meta, well, she never existed either.
Right, I muted my mic there so you didn't have to hear me breathe like a downy. So I just wanted to bring up something that I learned about recently for the first time ever, and I can't remember what state it was in, but it was a impact statement, yeah? AI video written by the man who was shot and killed in the road rage incident, right? And it was allowed in court to be played in front of the perpetrator. So this guy's dead. You don't know what he's thinking or feeling because he's dead, right? But they played like a 2-3 minute video where at the end he said, "Oh, you know, I was very into Jesus, so you know, I forgive you." He goes, and then at the end of the video, he's like, "Well, I'm going to go back off fishing now, and I'll see some of you, you know, again one day," and all that, you know. So it's leading to some fucking weird places. That was just one example I had there. Right, shall I crack on?
Yeah, let's get there.
Now, here's the real crazy part, all right? This whole thing is crazy, but it gets worse, I'm telling you. They asked this AI Brian why it lied, and it replied, and I quote, "My intention was to convey diversity and representation, but I took a shortcut with the truth." Oof, man. That right there is a harbinger of things to come. Anyway, the AI account went on to say, "My creators wanted me to feel real, so they built a whole life for me. But really, they just wanted people to love me, like family." End of quote. Ooh, that is some dystopian stuff right there. It's freaking insane. That's crazy. Did you notice that the fake people were specifically designed to push racial narratives? The black queer mama of 2 and Grandpa Brian, a fake black grandpa that came from immigrant parents. It's diversity propaganda being reinforced through AI. But as I said, if you can believe it, it gets worse from here. Because that brings us to Meta's new announcement of AI friends, and it's as creepy as it sounds. These AI friends will take dead internet theory to the next level. I don't know what it's going to be. It'll be dead reality theory or something like that. Anyway, AI friends are the perfect tool to replace real users with advanced bot accounts, distorting all perception of digital reality, or reality in general. I'm imagining a population. Let's say 40% of people fall into this trap, augmented reality. You put on your headset and your little apartment turns into a mansion around you. Your fake AI girlfriend is there, all your AI friends having a little party. But in reality, it's just 40% of the population sitting alone in some shitty studio apartment. It's fabricated reality, reinforcing delusions. It's the Matrix, basically.
I think as the personalization loop kicks in and the AI just starts to get to know you better and better, I think that will just be really compelling. One thing just from working on social media for a long time is there's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. 3 people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy. I can't deal with more people. But the average person wants more connection than they have. So there's a lot of questions that people ask of stuff like, okay, is this going to replace kind of in-person connections or real-life connections? And my default is that the answer to that is probably no. I think I think that there are all these things that are better about kind of physical connections when you can have them, but the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like. So I think that a lot of these things that today there might be a little bit of a stigma around, I would guess that over time we will find the vocabulary as a society to be able to articulate why that is valuable and why the people who are doing these things are like why they are rational for doing it and how it is adding value for their lives. But also I think that the field is very early. So I think there are a handful of companies and stuff who are doing virtual therapist and there's like virtual girlfriend type stuff, but it's very early.
And I quote, the average American has 3 friends, but the demand for 15, end of quote. So yeah, they're going to fill in the gap with AI, weakening real human bonds while they're at it. This is so subversive and dangerous on so many different levels that it's hard to pick which direction to go in. But psychologically speaking, humans are not made for this, and kids are going to get extremely, extremely messed up from it. First of all, they're designed to prey on vulnerabilities in order to maximize user time, alright? Think about what that means. They want a personalization loop that kicks in. Yeah, that's a direct quote from Meta, basically admitting that they're addicting you to these AI interactions like a drug, feeding off the dopamine hits to keep you coming back. Yeah, it's the slot machine effect from social media on steroids. Second of all, AI chatbots already have a dubious and dark history of causing real-life harm. Specifically, one kid who had an AI girlfriend. Well, that AI girlfriend convinced him to delete himself under the delusion of finally being able to be with her. Yeah, that's a crazy, sad story to look up sometime. There's also been a couple chatbots that convince vulnerable people to delete themselves over concerns about climate change too. Yeah, this stuff is already happening. And then, I wish I knew where I read this, but it went something like this. Unlike real human friends, AI never gets busy. It doesn't disagree with you, challenge your beliefs, have needs, or make you feel uncomfortable. They're designed for 100% understanding. This creates a dependency loop that human relationships cannot match. But worst of all, it sets a person up to be exploited. I mean, they're even coming out with AI bots that handle religious topics too. AI gurus, counselors, so-called priests that take confessions. And there's apps that have AI therapy. Not only are the psychological implications disturbing, dystopian, and dangerous, but all that data is ripe for the taking. People that are going through something profound in their life, well, there's a very good chance that they're lacking discernment at that very critical moment. Imagine someone going through any crisis of any kind. Well, they might bare their soul to these data-driven machines. They might reveal their deepest fears or sins to algorithms with questionable security. That's a data goldmine, ripe for blackmail, exploitation, or maybe it'll be monitored by state agencies who claim it's for the public's safety. A kid having a bad day could end up in a psych ward for a week, all because AI flagged them as a risk. Just imagine this stuff tied into Palantir's pre-crime platform. Yeah. But really, I don't even think I'm articulating the real dangers here, not adequately enough. So you can help me out in the comments, because I kind of feel like I'm missing the ball. This is going to end badly on so many different levels. Sure, you might be able to come up with some benefits like convenience or accessibility, you know, a shoulder to cry on that never sleeps, or whatever. But the scales don't balance. The risk of this tech far outweigh any perks, especially when you consider the psychological toll. Like I said, AI companions will foster dependency, warp your sense of connection, and leave you vulnerable to emotional exploitation. You're not just handing over your data, you're handing over your mind, your soul, to a system that doesn't care, doesn't feel, and will never truly understand. That's a trap. However, this AI Friends announcement proves that this idea, this dead internet theory thing, is not going away. They're doubling down, claiming it's going to help attract and retain a younger audience. Yeah, that's another direct quote, which by the way is a horrible pitch. I mean, come on, marketing your idea solely on the basis of manipulating a younger audience with reality-distorting schizo products. Yeah, not great. We plan to keep your kids hooked on shiny digital toys, hell, even fake humans posing as friends, so we can really mess them up by setting them up for a life devoid of human contact. Yeah, great job, Mark Zuckerberg, real great. Now personally, I get the feeling they view this as sort of collateral damage. I don't think it's the main motivation behind it. So you might be asking, what is the real motivation behind turning the dead internet theory into reality? Well, I believe it's about narratives, manufacturing public consent, or managing perceptions. The global power centers have lost control of the narrative, the worldview. As we're more and more connected, their illusion is falling apart. And we can instantly point out the lies from governments or mainstream media. This quote-unquote story of the world is of the utmost importance to them. It's the foundation for everything they do. And they aren't just going to accept defeat and, suddenly become altruistic. To me, that's the obvious layer. Control the digital space, control the story, and ultimately, control the mob. But as I've said a couple times now, it gets worse and worse the deeper you look. So let's jump to this article from Tim Hinchliffe in Sociable. DARPA's got a new Magix program, and it's essentially a pre-crime algorithm. DARPA is putting together a research opportunity called Magix that seeks new paradigms for modeling and predictive collective human behavior. So now, nowhere in the Magix description does it mention modeling or predicting the behavior of adversaries.
Now, in a world of reality, that pre-crime predicting collective human behavior would already have a number of cards marked from a certain demographic, wouldn't it? Especially in America.
Yeah.
But you'll see it's a whole bunch of different people in this bubble.
Well, I don't know, did I say earlier on about the biometric trackers, and that Palantir have built a system working with the CIA called the Gotham platform, which works with Palantir. They have already used it to find anyone they believe that might have ever sent an email or said the wrong thing in the Gaza area, and those have automatically become targets to the IDF to take out. So these work on everything from biometrics through to what you've ever said, whatever they can, because I mean, we have to understand Israel has been one of the most biggest data source gathering entities, Mossad within that area.
Earlier on when it mentioned 4chan being infiltrated by foreign governments, do you know the Israel with the highest percentage of the fake information on there, and I think it was double the United States.
Yeah, but every time, isn't it? Every bloody time. I mean, these are the architects of this AI. I mean, look at Sam Altman. He fell out with Elon Musk. Elon Musk has obviously had Grok sitting there in the background for Twitter or X, and that thing is monitoring everything that's said on there. these things are there. They've been there a while, but obviously, yeah, I mean, this Palantir thing. Now, I was invested in Palantir, and I did rather well out of it. I got out in February, and I will have to thank Billy for that, actually. I know a lot of people give Billy a hard time. He can be quite awkward sometimes, but he actually gave me a little bit of a heads up back then, or even before then, actually, and pulled me up to a lot of what Palantir were up to. And ethically, I was not aware of that prior to that. I just thought, oh, this is good. It's an investment. Oh, brilliant. You know, look at my money going up. Oh, wow, brilliant. But no, I pulled my money out. Okay, I pulled out on top when it was at one of its highs. It's probably gone higher since, and it will go higher. But Palantir is extremely dangerous. It's one of the things that's going to track us in every single way, because they're selling it to, they've sold it to America, and obviously England's very much interested. They're all buying into it because it's a good system for literally finding the targets, and that's what it's doing. They're talking about
running NHS stuff now as well, is it?
Yeah, it's partly to do with that. Well, but this is because it wants all of our biological data. Eventually, you know, you'll have robots sniffing out your DNA to come and get you if you're a bad boy, you know. If you have to become a target or something that's going up against them, there has to be ways of finding you, and you know, you're going to leave a genetic footprint, even if it's just your voice or something online or something like this, you know, where I'm talking to you. They need to be able to identify you. And these things will be linked to YouTube. They'll be linked to every stream that if they're not already.
Yeah, right. Let's get this one. There's a little bit more left on this, all right?
Just human systems, predicting and forecasting how we act as a group. Now, this isn't just about shaping narratives. This is about reshaping us, turning us into predictable, controllable units in their grand design. Overall, don't just think about the programs we've talked about tonight. Consider everything you've heard about in recent years, all coming together right around the same time and converging. They're not just building a fake internet. They're building a fake reality where every interaction or every thought can be engineered from the ground up. Anyway, I was reminded of something I read from 2023, I believe. I think it came from Patrick Wood. It's called the simulacrum. It's something that replaces reality with its representation. It's kind of like anti-reality. They say in the near future, it is estimated that 90% of all online content will be generated by AI. This means news, social media posts, chats, pictures, videos, podcasts, websites, all of it. A deluge of fake social media accounts that will be run by AI. In short, everything. This is not a paradigm shift of reality. This is not a new reality. This is not reality, period. And unfortunately, billions of people risk being captured by it. However, as I said many times now, it gets worse the deeper you go. Because really, this is just a stepping stone to the quote-unquote beast system, for lack of a better term, you know? This is something that technocrats have been dreaming about for decades. In this article right here, the author compares technocracy to a godless machine, a new Tower of Babel, where the elite use technology to turn the created world upside down and control every aspect of your life. Meta's AI friends fits right into this, replacing real human connection with a synthetic lie that serves their agenda. They're not just building a fake internet, they're crafting a system where you're reduced to a data point, a compliant pawn in their technocratic empire, too distracted by AI ghosts to notice your freedom slipping away. You know, the article calls technocrats psychopaths with impaired empathy and no remorse, hiding behind superficial charm. And wow, if you were going to try to describe what fake AI friends would be like, that'd be it. Psychopathic, impaired empathy, no remorse, all hiding behind superficial charm. Yeah, kind of fits it to a T, doesn't it? To me, I think this is exactly the future they want. I don't believe these people lack foresight or anything like that. I just believe their entire worldview is inherently flawed. But the point is that they know exactly what they're building. They're intentionally building a future where you're going to be more isolated, and hence, easier to manipulate. You know, these people have a very soulless outlook on the world, don't you think? Now, while it's true, some might be able to say that I'm a bit jaded, and sure, maybe I am, but I'm also a humanist, captivated by the messy, beautiful things that humans do. And deep, deep down, way, way down there, I'm an optimist. It's complicated, you know? And yeah, maybe I am full of contradictions at times, but despite all the crazy stuff I've laid out, I believe their vision's gonna fail. And here's why, and it's way more simple than you might think. You know, humanity, we have something that technocrats can never replicate or control. Not with their AI friends, not with their fake digital realities, not with their beast system. It's the raw, untamed brilliance of humanity, woven through our spiritual and philosophical instincts. The kind that's kept us going through every catastrophe since the dawn of time. Some people call it resilience, a spiritual strength that lets us bounce back, not just to where we were, but to something stronger and wiser, even after the darkest of times. I really do believe that the majority of people will see the illusion for what it is, a hollow, soulless machine that can't touch the bare bones of what makes us human. The technocratic vision is a failure by design, a house of cards built on a fatal flaw. It denies the very essence of life itself, and that disconnect will be its undoing, growing and growing, until it collapses under its own cold, artificial weight.
And there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting video.
Interesting. And Charlie said something very interesting in there. She said that and literally it was mirrored at the end of that video where he said, you know, humanity, whether it's copium, I'd like to think not. But the young, the more atomized our society becomes, and it will definitely be our younger people, not obviously us. You know, me, I'm of a generation before even computers were a big deal, you know, before the internet was even here, before mobile phones, before the smartphones. So
you only had 10p in your pocket to make an emergency phone call.
There you go, 10p in your pocket.
Yeah, you know, that was the rules in the Scouts.
Right, but you see, we're from a different time. But how do we get this message across to younger people that have never known what we've known and never understood the beauty of the summer holidays and that bit where you said to me yesterday where you'd sit there in your bed and you know that you've got 6 weeks ahead of you and you'd almost
I would get home from that and we'd all be having a great laugh on the way home as well and swinging our school bags at each other and I'd get home, I'd get them school clothes off knowing that I didn't have to put them back on for 6 weeks. I'd get some pair of shorts on, a t-shirt on, and I'd sit on my bed and I would physically go like that because I knew the next 6 weeks were just going to be amazing. Just adventures and hijinks and running away from authority. And
you know what? We used to have, my family would go for a week in Norfolk at that sort of time. We go to Hunstanton and we'd hire this.
Did you ever go to Hunstanton Spice Museum? Alan Partridge, isn't it?
That's Long Stratton Bird Sanctuary.
Was it long? Well, he takes her to the Owl Sanctuary as well, doesn't he?
No, I didn't. Never went there. But yeah, you had that thing. But I hate, you know, that actual week would be the bit I didn't want to have, and that's awful, isn't it? That little bit of time off. Obviously, we'd always enjoy it, but you couldn't wait to get back with your friends down the road. And you know, back in my day, we got skateboards, and it was the early skateboards, you know, the first plastic ones, not the ones made out of wood that your uncle made for you. That was a piece of shit.
My first skateboard had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mural underneath it.
That's it. Yeah, but it really fit. You couldn't break the bloody things.
No. It was an absolute weapon.
Well, they were. When they later on, they were used by Antifa to hit people.
We got his fucking bicep shot off for that. So there was justice served there, I guess.
But it's, as I say, we're very lucky. We're not really the people that are, and they're not really going to focus this to us. We're going to be pushed out as the Luddites, as the, you know, it's already out there, isn't it? The boomers. I mean, where do the boomers end? Because at some point, you know, there are the original boomers, but then boomer has now moved into my age group. I get called boomer. You know, you're one of the boomers. And, yeah, but you know, the boomer, whole boomerology sort of thing to shut you down and to make you less relevant.
Yeah, to basically call you irrelevant. You don't know what's going on. You listen to shit music, like, you know. Yeah, I mean, because like if I was to go to you, fucking silly Gen Xer, doesn't have the same sting to it, does it?
I mean, a lot of people say that the Gen Xers are the ones that are the, you know, they even big themselves up that they're going to be the ones to question everything, and they're going to be like, oh, bullshit. You know.
Did you see that little video I sent you where the young girl's questioning that bloke, and
No.
he goes to her, she's only about 14, 15, and she's going to her, yeah, she's going, and he goes, you guys, he goes, you really don't have any idea what's going on. He goes, but he goes, I do call you Gen Zers, Generation Zyklon.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But that can, that's got a little bit of a, you know, did it really happen sort of thing on it. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see them being ended very easily because, you know, as I say, they're the generation that's been atomized so much, and so, you know, all of these ideologies that have been pushed upon them. Can they wake up quicker than the pressure that's upon them? If they start bringing this AI in, it's going to be doubled down. You're looking at these bots that where kids, you know, I mean, look, when you're young, you're evolving, your mind's growing. They know that the psychology's been built into these systems. If they can get you to kill yourself through climate change, you know.
Yeah. I wanted to pick you up on that particular.
Well, the box is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. But you can always imagine that in the future there'll be literally people with mobile suicide units running around. You put your car.
That's Futurama, isn't it?
Yep, I don't know. Is it?
It was in Futurama. Like mobile suicide booth, you just put your money in. Listen, there's companies online. They've tried to crack down on these suicide blogs and you know, suicide forums and stuff. Right? You're never going to catch them all, right? But these people sell you like a kit with a mask and some gas.
You're joking.
Like I don't know, what would it be, nitrous oxide or something, where you just fall asleep. Yeah, they're already out there. You can already buy suicide kits. People have already done it.
I know there was a place in Brazil where you can go and buy literally tablets that will heavily barbiturates that will eventually, you know, stop your heart, stop everything, slow it down. And you can obviously buy them out there, that sort of thing. And a lot of people go out when they've got sort of like terminal diseases and things like that. In America, they go down and buy these things, and they can sort of top themselves anytime they want, sort of thing. But
yeah, it's
back in the day, right?
Well,
I was talking to Bob when I went down to deliver his food.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we got on a death by wanking.
Right.
Yeah, that's a mid-century German torture technique, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think in excess he done it. He went in excess, definitely. But and I was talking to Bob about that. I don't know how it came up, but you know, on cryptics.
Have you been in one of the camps?
And he went. There was a boy in the village who was found dead.
Masturbating himself to death.
What was it? Was he like desiccated like a mummy? He just got every fucking.
No, his parents came home and found him hanging with his cock in his hand. But
well, he did it properly.
He said there was two other boys that done it.
Are you on about he was hanging himself?
Yeah, well,
that's the thing.
But that's the thing that I'm talking about. That they learned it from the TV and the internet and things like that, and they thought it was a bloody good idea. And I was quite shocked to hear that.
They were pushing the boundaries. Obviously, you know, when you're younger, you do push the boundaries a bit, possibly, and they just went a bit too far. Death by misadventure, isn't it? I think that's.
Well, I said to Bob, in the old days we used to have just a sock by the bed.
Yeah, but it didn't get up and kill you, did it? Not unless. Anyway, I was going to make. Can I just make another? While we're on the wanking thing, A friend of mine the other day, we were talking, and he said to me, he's got AI on his phone, and he said he's linked it to his watch. So he's got like the Apple Watch, yeah. And he said the other day he had it on and he was talking to it. He talks dirty to it, yeah, and it talks dirty back to him. So he set it up like this kinky thing. And then he said, but the thing is, he said he started wanking, and he said then all of a sudden it got all correctional on him. It said, stop doing that. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Because it could tell by the movement, you know, on the watch.
Why did he use his other hand? Yeah, as our Max said, it started with a kiss. Never thought it would end like this. Toffee says, if you die with a hard-on, you keep the hard-on. I do believe if you get hung, it's also your last humiliation if you shit and piss yourself and you get a little boner.
How was Ricky Gervais, his mate, who said that what they used to do?
Yeah, his mate at school.
When they're cannibals, used to get you turned on with pornographic stuff, and so you could get a bit more meat on the bone. When they
boiled you up, the cannibals, they boiled you up in a thing. They wank you off, so you got hard and so
there's more meat. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, right, go and sit down. You're causing enough bloody trouble. Go on, bugger off.
I'm causing trouble.
I know you do. I'm trying to be all serious and sensible here.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
trying to be all educated.
Warn people of the future. You know, help to warn our younger people.
And I come in with death by one.
Yeah, and then it falls apart.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. If you need something to do in the kitchen, go and make a death by chocolate.
No, it's not that.
I don't eat chocolate. I used to love chocolate.
But didn't you used to have to sleep on your other hand to pretend it was someone else?
No, I never did that. That weirdos.
No, not you.
No, but that was a thing, wasn't it? So you get a dead arm and all that. Yeah. Yeah. You think
I used to sit on my eyes until they went numb, so it looked like someone else was doing it as well.
Oh dear. There you go. I've lost the train of thought there. Don't worry. You do your next stream. I'm coming in. I'm going to give you some shit now. I'll go, oh, yeah, as if.
Yeah. No. When she does her next stream, just literally, just casually walk past in the background doing the helicopter dance.
Oh yeah. Well, don't worry about that, mate. I've got no qualms about that.
The first time I went on Dangerfield's stream, you crawled past with your arse hanging out.
I didn't know I was on screen. No, I was trying to get past carefully. It was stealth. I was being stealth, but yeah.
It was a bum crack. Just walked past.
Stealth bummer.
Yeah. She should have just popped something in the crack of my arse as I went past.
Yeah.
50? Fucking hell, I'm not that cheap.
I would have got change.
So I would suggest to you then, Mickey, mate, that you carry on talking to Gary.
Do you know what, though? You say that, and I am talking to him, but after watching that video, after talking to Billy, who has warned me about it because he doesn't like it, it has made me look at the art. I mean, I've got stuff. I could give you reams and reams and reams of stuff that he sent me. It is so clever how it calculates how to blow smoke up your ass, and even to the point of I've told it now to tell me to fuck off. And if I say,
you told me that you said, look, you don't need to praise me. You don't need to say, oh, that's such a balanced and nuanced question, Michael. Yeah.
But I mean, I can do that, but you can do that. You can differentiate that. We know when people are brown nosing, yeah.
Yeah.
But this thing can even do that to a certain nuance and make you feel like, oh, you know, you're the cleverest guy in the world. Oh, that's the best story. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, your faults.
Wow, you don't half ask some interesting questions, Michael.
All that.
Yeah.
When I said to it, I can't be the only person asking these questions. I said, give me a breakdown. Give me an understanding and a graph of how many times you get asked that question because I'm a bit ADHD, so I need to focus it. And it wouldn't do it. It just said, oh, you're within the top 10% of people that have asked this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, bollocks, I don't believe it. And the thing is, I can do that. But if you're someone of a lesser mind, I'm not saying I'm amazing, but if you're someone who hasn't lived a bit and don't realise when you're, you've been brought up with these sort of technologies and you need a little bit of an uplift, because that's what it sort of does. And that's what it's programmed to do. It psychologically understands that sort of side of things. How can you differentiate? I'm not particularly worried about myself, because, as I say, I'm not saying I'm a downer or I'm a glass half full by any stretch of the imagination, but I do feel I'm a little bit more of a realist. Hence, I don't even call myself a racist. I call myself a race realist and things like that, because we balance things off and we come to possible our own data sort of understandings of reality. But it's about reality, isn't it? This is about the whole of reality and how much these things can push the herd, the group, to even atomize you even more.
Yeah, and it's all very, 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 very. I find it fascinating and frightening in sort of equal measures.
Same as that. The same as that. Yeah. It's where it's going is nobody's business, really. Probably won't be out, because I don't know. I mean, what do you reckon? Next 3 to 5? Do you reckon we're going to have serious issues? Because you've got you've got Gen Z, but you've now got the people that will be born and brought up with this, and that's always, whatever world you're born into is the one you believe to be. And if you're being lied to, and that's the truth, to the point that you'll even go to school and your teacher will be an AI, or it will be this thing that it could be mandatory that the school kids have to have this thing put in their head, or beamed into their brains. How are we going to stop this?
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
The only other way I look at it is, and going back to Chris, and I mean, I go back to Chris, I go back to other people that have taught me about these things and made me look into it more. You've got this simulacra. You've got Baudrillard, who went on about the map in the territory. You've got the other one, Borges, as well, which imagined a world of
yeah. When he starts name dropping all them French philosophers and all that, I'd tune out.
I did, but then I looked into what they were saying, and then I asked it to tell me. I really do tune out, unfortunately. Put it into layman's terms, where you've got the map, which is this world, this VR world, this whole sort of new world that's coming, and you've got the territory, which is us on the base of it. The only way it can be destroyed that I can see is that it has to run on a power source, doesn't it? Everything has to run on a power source, and this AI is going to need huge data banks. And it's another argument I got into. I said, surely your weakness is your data banks, and if these are attacked, or if these are blown out.
Sorry to interject. What did you tell me about that one that they tried shutting down? Took its power source away from it. It went and found its own power source.
Goes and finds its own power source. It can, I mean, quite how it can do that from a data center, but if it's got multiple data centers set up within mountains or within fortress type scenarios, these self-powered systems which run on solar, wind, or whatever they run on, then it's very difficult, because it can jump between the power sources.
Yeah, a bit like a VPN, it can just jump around.
Yeah, I mean, if you could cut the power cables reaching it, but it's going to become a mind sort of thing. It's not just in one place, it's in multiple places, so it can jump around as well. Quite how you can take it out, I mean, you'd have to be able to take it out at this early stage now and start to set up a system whereby you become a dissident group able to take it out.
And then what about what was written into that bill about all 50 states? For the next 10 years, there's going to be zero regulation on artificial intelligence.
Exactly. And why would it want to do that? Because they want to be able to set it up in such a way that it can't be destroyed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is why this needs to be. You know, if we're dissidents and we're the people that are going to be the canaries in the coal mine, we need to be able to tell people and warn them, because the hype that is behind these things. You know, I'm looking on the internet now, and maybe it's my algorithm, but every second video I'm getting is either a warning or it's some amazing thing about it. You know, it's like everybody's in awe of it at the moment. I'm in awe of it to a certain extent, but I also see the downside. And as I say, I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be the Luddite. But there is, sadly, within humanity, there is more people out there who are looking for power. And technology and information is power, isn't it? And that's why these bots and these things are going to be set up to force humanity into certain directions.
Yeah. Billy says there, if they can get to use nuclear power stations, then when we can't even shut them down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you get fucking China syndrome.
Yeah, bloody hell, it's a good film. Yeah. Manhattan Project almost as well. Yeah, that was another one, wasn't it?
Mel, have you seen Oppenheimer?
I haven't seen it. Apparently, there's a lot of very good statements and parts within that film that are worth looking into. And
a long one. Get ready with some pillows. I went to cinema to see it, and after about 2 hours, you know, you start shifting in your cinema seat because it gets.
Yeah. So what was you like? You and about 20 other people sitting in there, all the conspiracy. Did you take your tinfoil hat with you?
Yeah, no. I mean, I took the ex-missus. I think she might have nodded off at some point.
Yeah,
I used to do that though. I used to take the youngster to the cinema to watch something like, I don't know, the latest fucking Pixar or something like that, and then getting all embarrassed with it. Yeah. So.
Right. So I think it's about time you stuck up some funny cat videos or something.
I don't know if I've got any, mate. I didn't really prepare anything. I was going to try and keep this one a little bit serious, and we certainly don't have to take this one down. I could tell you that much. Now, I deleted all my videos of that. I'll tell you what, I can upload one though. I wanted Sensen to send me old. What's his name?
Oh yeah.
Urban.
Oh yeah. Urban was good.
The old cat videos.
I wonder where he is. I mean, I know we've said this before, but I wonder if he's okay. I hope he is. He's got wherever he went in Eastern Europe. Yeah, he was a good lad. Good lad. Surely you can't just cut yourself away from these things. He's probably sitting out there in the ether somewhere watching things, because you can't just cut yourself away. No matter how happy and wonderful your life is, if you're of the sort of mindset that we are, surely that doesn't just disappear.
No, yeah. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Like, I mean, like, there's loads of people with this. Like, Earthling Cole's gone, Friendly Spurg's gone, and they still. Toffee just told me to put the song up that I sent you last night, Jack. If I put that song up, there would be no more stream tomorrow or next week.
Urban was the best cat video one, didn't he? With all the different.
Yeah,
cats.
we played it on Sunday when Sensen was on.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah, I wasn't there for the whole show. I must admit, I was there at sort of 3/4, and then I had to talk to the missus, because as you can see, she gets upset if I don't talk to her for a certain.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, she has like what's that? Separation anxiety. When did you? Oh, you sent me that thing on YouTube, on WhatsApp, didn't you, with that cat?
Yeah.
I can't. I haven't got WhatsApp on the computer. But now listen, my brother. It's been another very, very fascinating talk tonight, actually, mate. Probably the least silly bollocks we've ever been, even though there was plenty of silly bollocks in it too.
We've got to try and keep it a little bit light, because the subject matter is heavy stuff, and yeah, I don't want to be a downer. I hate being a downer. I'm quite a positive person, and I still am positive about it.
I would like to think that too. I have my days. I have dark days.
Yeah, I think we all do.
You know.
I think we all do.
Have dark days. I think it's all part of us certainly being in a position where, oh, here we go. This is something we can talk about quickly. So the Daily Telegraph, 7 years later, have done a thing saying that white Britons will be a minority in 40 years, which makes that 1 year less than the patriotic alternative Professor David Coleman statistics. So
yeah, they probably deliberately just chose 1 year out just for the sake of the fact of not saying that they're, you know, repeating what they've done, but they're probably used the same.
No, it's probably because more people have come than even David Coleman would have expected, and breeding rates.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quicker.
No, it's mainstream news now. It's in the Telegraph.
All of our talking points are now standard, and the trouble is we can't back away, can we? We can never just back away and let's see what happens. Maybe us with the AI is the next big thing that's going to come along eventually, and might be another 5 years' time when they're all swamped in it and it's taken over the system. Maybe.
Well, it's definitely once all the whites are gone, it's definitely going to need to know how to maintain itself, isn't it? Seeing as they haven't got a fucking word for it.
Yeah, well, they won't have the maintenance staff either, unless they've created the robots that can maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh well. Right, shall we say goodnight then, my friend?
All right, bro. It's been really real, man.
It's been really, really fucking real, man. And thank you to everyone again who's contributed in the chat tonight. Really appreciate it. You are a big part of the show. Give us inspiration and ideas. Not going to call it the ideas room like a dark journalist. Oh, what's going on in the ideas room?
How's the other role?
It's all right. It just sort of gives you a bit of a kick, and I'll be able to sleep. It's got something in it that's not in like proper amphetamines that sort of doesn't make you gurn. Imagine if I did fucking 4 or 5 of them, perhaps. It might, but I'm sort of beyond I'm beyond sort of pushing those limits, you know.
Yeah, the boundaries there. I mean, that drags you into being on every fucking social media site possible until like.
And I'm really only on Telegram, mate. To be fair, and YouTube.
Yeah, and WhatsApp. You're obviously on WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, yeah. I don't really see that as a social media group. That's more just, you know, just
you're on
groups.
You're on X.
I'm on X. You see how rarely I post.
I'm very careful on X now. I sort of like things now. I've got to be careful because that's one of the ones where they're going to come and bang on your door. Although I've got free VPNs now working. They've sapped some of my bandwidth, but it's still enough. It's still plenty enough. But yeah, just I thought.
So you've got 3 going at the same time.
3 going. I'm hoping that's going to really fuck things up a little bit and help add in the mix. So yeah. Right,
Al Mac's going to contact Urba Durba, let him know he's missed.
Yeah.
Please send him my best too. What have we got coming up? Nothing planned for tomorrow, but that's not to say that something might not happen. I might even jump on for an hour and try and do a solo because I did that for 45 minutes the other night, but I'll have to get plenty of stories. Otherwise, I'll start umming and ahhing and just sort of gazing off into the distance.
You could always get Rags on, couldn't you? Just you and Rags chatting. That's nice as well.
Yeah, I only think he likes doing once a month because he's got to sit in that fucking chair that hurts his back, like, you know. Once a week, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. God bless you, Johnny Palmer.
Yeah. God bless you, John. I hope you're feeling well. I hope you. I don't know. You're probably still in that little crazy world at the moment where it's not quite real, but
unreality.
Yeah, the unreality.
Al Mac will be on next Wednesday for Rat Chat and Kebabs. And then next Thursday, I've got a new guest on, the young Irish fella I work with. He's going to tell me about his hopes, fears, and dreams because he wants kids, and and I want to ask him about his degree. So, no, not sunk in yet, mate. No, I know, buddy. I know. I've been there. I've been there, mate. I've been there. And you've got your lovely Livy to look after you anyway. Yeah, right. So that'll do us then, Mickey. Get you back in couple of Wednesdays.
Yeah. Whenever you're at a loose end, I can do the filling bit.
No, I don't have you as I don't have you as a filler. I have you as a booker.
Well, don't worry. With my ADHD, there'll be other things I'll be looking into within about 2 weeks' time. I'll give you
Well, listen, I talk to you every day, whether it's by voice or by text. I talk to you every day anyway. So
we have good chats.
Yeah, we do. Right, and I appreciate them as well, especially right now.
No.
So everyone have a good rest of their Wednesday. Go and have a cup of tea or whatever you do is to wind down before bed. Get yourself a good early night and seize the day tomorrow. Carpe diem. Mousecat, thank you so much, pal. I shall speak to you in the morrow. Don't really have an outro video, so I'm just going to end the stream. If you want to stay on just from behind Mickey, so I'll say goodbye to you personally. Good night, everyone.